After Sunday's podcast. My name's Toby, and we have amazing guests here. We've got Mel, we have Sandy, and we have Tracy. And we'll be discussing the My Spiritual Geography sermon series that we've been having here at Door of Hope in our 10 a.m. service. So, Sandy, to kick us off, would you be able to share a bit of an overview of what this sermon series has been so far and what it's about?
Sure. We've looked at geography as a metaphor, looking at the personal landscape of our own lives. And it is basically very personal and yet a lot of similarities. We've got hills. I started off by saying if I had to explain my landscape, you'd have pretty little flowers at the front because I always like to give a good image, bright colour things. But pretty well close to that, there'd be weeds and a bit of maybe dog poo, dirt, mulch, whatever you like. There'd be trees, there'd be barren trees, there'd be a bit of desert, actually a lot of desert, a lot of wilderness. But there'd be little oases, little times of trees and hills and mountains and lakes, very still places. So that, in a way, becomes a metaphor to describe the places I've found myself. And the beautiful thing is, and what we've actually talked about most is, where I am, God is.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been a very visual series, I feel. There's very much this sense of, like you have this imagery of the nature and where you are specifically within the space that, in life, in that space, in that metaphorical space. And Sandy's holding a map that was created by Anna Van Stralen, and it's really awesome. We have it in our show notes as well too, if you wanted to have a closer look. And it's got a whole bunch of different regions and areas that can explain how we can find ourselves in our life, in our spiritual geography, in our different spaces where we are in our life all the time. And Tracy, you've spoken in this series. Sandy, you've spoken in this series. Tracy, do you want to share a bit more in your message? You were talking about the hills and valleys, still very much in that space of visual with the hills and the valleys, and it's all throughout the Psalms as well too, and you shared a few Psalms. Do you want to just share a bit of a summary of your word and what you were sharing in your message?
Sure. So, as you said, mountains and valleys, hills and valleys, and mountains and hills tend to be very similar things in the ancient world. But basically what I was talking about was how we can reach mountains and have wonderful times with God, that God comes down to meet us. We don't go to meet him. He's always there. He's there at the mountaintops, and that's a place where we hear and listen and we're equipped to face the valleys. And the valleys are places that we sometimes go into deliberately. Sometimes we're drawn in. Sometimes we just fall into them. But when we're there, we're not alone. And God's presence is tangible, and we lean on him and learn from him. So it's important that we don't hurry off. The valleys are hard places to be. There's a way in, a way out, but they're places that we need to linger for a little while. Mountains and valleys. Yeah, there was a lot in it.
Absolutely. I'd love to sort of stick in this sort of area of the valley seasons, and I'd love to sort of open up for anyone to have a conversation, but where have been some of those valleys in your own life, in your own sort of timeline, in the last sort of, maybe it's in the last 6 months, maybe it's been years ago, but I know we all have these mountaintop moments and these moments where we feel incredible and close and connected to God, and then we have these valleys and these wildernesses. So where would some of them been for you? And as this series has been saying about where we are, God is with us, where did you find God, and where did God find you in those spaces?
I've been through a season of God doing a lot of healing work in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a situation with someone that I was really hurting over, and it felt really unreasonable at the time. And God just brought a lot of stuff to my mind. He where he was like, I'm actually showing you this because you're choosing things that aren't me, and you are choosing things that are hurting our relationship. And it's time for you to give that up. It's time for you to give that to me. And it was actually on my way to Undone. And I remember just like bawling my eyes out, and the family's like, what is on with her? And I just remember saying, like, I'm sorry. And it was the first time that it actually hit me, how some of my choices had affected my relationship with God and with others. And I remember being at Undone, and everyone's worshiping, and I'm just like, again, bawling my eyes out. And I'm going, it hurts. It really, really hurts. And God kept saying to me, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this to heal you. And I remember just, I mean, it's hard. Like, I always think it's really easy for me to start something. It's really hard for me to stop doing something.
Yeah.
And so there's just like all this like hurt and these choices and these things that I had to give to God. And but in doing that, like, you know, we talk about such like immense freedom. And as we were doing this series, one thing that kept coming to mind was that in all those places, God is there, but we choose if we actually connect with him or not.
Yeah.
And there were times in my life in valleys where I would choose to seek myself, what I wanted. I would choose to seek something else. But we get to choose, do we go to God?
Yeah.
And the times that I've actually gone to God in those hard spaces, no matter what I was going through, are the times that I experienced healing and joy and freedom. And so, yeah, this series has been a great reminder, just like choose God, choose God, choose God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Probably it would be good for me to just share the valley of doubt. I remember hitting it a few times in my life, but the biggest one was when I just needed to look at the dissonance between what I said I believed and how I lived, and to recapture again the wonder and magnificence of God. And I remember sitting in this place for a few months actually, and decided to scrap everything and start from the beginning. And one of the things I couldn't let go was have faith in God. So, of course, my starting point was I believe in God.
Great.
And how God has revealed himself. So it took me onto a deeper, new journey from something was very much head and mind to something which became much more congruent with how I lived. And so I still have to question myself. I say this, do I live that? So that was my valley of doubt. And it was not pleasant. It was honest. It was scathing in the sense of having a realistic look at my life, discovering who I am. But it ended up being rich. And so the mountaintop experience came down eventually. But there were times when, I had to choose and I had to stay there until I could rediscover the wonder again of the love of God.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. I think that's really powerful, Sandy. And I know for myself in my life that I can absolutely have those moments. And that valley of doubt has definitely been something that I've had to wrestle with. And then, you may go to a conference or have one Sunday afternoon or a conversation with a friend or a prayer night and feeling so close and connected to God, and you just feel his presence and he's speaking in and through you, and you can just feel like you're, next to one another, or that like he's embracing you. And then, you can go to bed that night and wake up the next morning and feel like it's silent and distant. And I know that's been something that I've been journeying with in different parts of my own life at the moment as well too, and what that sort of looks like. And so that's really powerful.
It reminds me of a quote I've read just recently by Greg Sheridan. He said, faith is easy. Faith is not easy. But when you're on the mountaintop, it seems like it. Everything's wonderful. God's here. People are worshipping, praising. Faith is not easy, but it makes things possible.
Yeah,
I
wow.
just think that's a beaut quote for this journey of the soul or the geography of where we are. Yeah.
I want to ask another question in a similar sort of vein, but what's God been highlighting to you so far through this series? With all the different messages, the different sort of visual aspects, what's something that God has been highlighting to you?
I think one of the big things is, and we just talked about it recently, like every season that you are, every place that you are in your geography is okay.
Yeah.
And like if God is there, it's okay. And that like allowing ourselves and allowing others to be in that space, and how do you come alongside people who are, you know, in a different space than you, in the same spot as you, and how do you support each other and allow each other just to experience God exactly where they're at, and not rush them to move out of it, but wait for God to do the journeying and the moving with them.
Yeah, wonderful.
Maybe I'll just add something
Yeah,
from what
for
you
sure.
said before, Mel, about choice.
Yeah.
Just in the little moments of the day. Just recently I found myself with a long wait at the Melbourne airport due to plane cancellations, etc.
No.
And it ended up being 6 hours. But I knew before I actually arrived there from the Gold Coast that I had this wait. And I'm not a lover of the Melbourne airport or of waiting. But I realised that I had choice. And I decided that I could make the best of this day choice. And it made such a difference to how I coped with the 6 hour wait.
Yeah.
It was a very positive experience, yeah.
That's wonderful. I feel like the airport is the most chaotic experience that a human can experience in their entire lives. But I'm really, really glad that, having that choice and being able to have the forethought to be able to go in and step in, being like, no, I'm going to choose to have this and have it be such a pleasant experience in that way.
Yeah, and so, after some thought, it seems to me that no matter where you are, it's okay because God's with you.
Yeah.
Now, I have my own preconceived ideas without God as to where a good place is. But I suppose this series has actually shown me that no matter where you are, even though it's a place you don't think is a good place, He's still there with you, and it is good. It is good.
Yeah, good.
And you can learn and grow in any place. Yeah.
That's really great. I'd love to take a moment because we're partway through our series at the moment. And so I'm speaking this Sunday and I'm talking about the people along the way, those that are around us in our journey. We've spoken a little bit about this, and, you know, I'm bringing in a personal story of a bit of a road trip, because I think when we look at our geography and the people who we do it with, the idea that, you know, when you do a road trip alone, if you have to head to Hobart or something, doing it by yourself, you can put on a podcast or audio book or music. You can kind of tune out for a couple of hours and then you're there. But you're really focused on that mission end goal. But I know for myself, when I've done road trips with friends or with other people, those moments have become really core memories. You get into such deeper conversation, and I feel like there's a really great space for ministry. So that's what I'm speaking on this Sunday. And then we've got Ben in a couple of weeks talking about the supplies for the journey as we go down this journey and as we look at our geography wherever we are. What supplies do we have with us? What can we get from God and from others in that space? And so I'm excited to hear from that. And then in a few more weeks, we've got Renee on Father's Day talking about the adventures of fatherhood. We're going to move into a segment now of the cutting room floor, because I know that when I'm writing a sermon, not everything ends up on what's on my page or in my notes ends up being shared. So I'd love to hear from Sandy and from Tracy. What are some of the things from the cutting room floor that didn't quite make it into your message, but that you did in study or in preparation, or that God was speaking to you to potentially share, but maybe not in that space?
Okay. What I actually started with went to the cutting room floor, but it was still in my notes on Sunday to use if I had time, but whoever has time. And it was Psalm 1, which is, again, a picture of trees and rivers and chaff which the wind blows. And it reminded me of, and this is where I wanted to start, because I think I mentioned in the journey that our journey is from a garden to a garden city. And one of the gardens mentioned, or both gardens are mentioned in Psalm 1, that we're the blessed, the ones who can live the Edenic life, the ones that can know the abundance and fullness of God, are those that are like trees planted by the river. And their leaves don't wither, they produce fruit in every season, but not so the wicked. They're like the chaff which the wind blows. So I thought it was a beautiful summary of what our life is, the blessed life, where we can actually enjoy the flourishing of the garden and find the garden wherever we are. I think that's what really hit me, is that in the wilderness there's an oasis. In the valley there's often a little stream or a mossy covered rock that you can sit on. And in the valleys there's shelter and shade. So it just reminded me of the beauty of God and what we have as the blessed life wherever we are. So that went out of the sermon.
That's really beautiful. Do you have, in that space of that Psalm 1 and looking towards the garden city, in that space, is that where you believe that we're headed as well too, in that sort of Psalm 1?
It basically says that we can delight in the Torah, in the instruction or the law of the Lord as we meditate. And I thought about that word meditate, like a dog chewing a bone or a bit of steak being marinated where it changes its flavour because it's been in the Word and delighting. So that to me is the picture of what it is like to be on the journey. Wherever we are, we can find that delight and have the flavour of our life changed.
Wonderful.
Marinating the
that's
word.
so great. And Tracy, in your sermon, we were talking before about how you had expansive notes. What was some
I think
of
I
the
described
stuff?
it as a dog's breakfast, didn't I?
I think you may have, yes.
And it was massive. I found it a very big topic and a bit overwhelming at times. In fact, I rang my friend Sandy and said, "Sandy, I'm going around in circles. What help me out here?" And Sandy, of course, helped me maintain that focus. But what went to the cutting room floor for me was more about the plentiful valleys, because valleys are described as very dark, nasty places to be, but they're also described as places where you want to rest and recuperate. And I think of Psalm 23 where it says, you go there to restore your soul. But one of the things I found in my reading was that if you stay in that wonderful place and then linger and just, lay back and take it all in and do that for weeks and months and years, well, things start happening. Start to get stagnant, and it's the comfort. It's a place with comfort that lingers for too long. You get idle. So I considered adding more in there about those plentiful valleys and how yes, there is purpose to them, but staying there forever is not where God wants you to be. It's important to reach the mountaintops and go into the valleys.
Wonderful.
Yeah, great.
So I think as we slowly wrap up, I want to keep this discussion going, but I would love to ask, how has the understanding of this journey and looking at the map and being able to have sort of a visual reference in this metaphor of where you are with God and knowing that God can meet you where you are, how has this journey of our lives, how has it been helpful for you or for others to have sort of a visual representation in this, or hearing and reminding ourselves of this very poetic, beautiful kind of understanding? Has it been helpful? What has it been in that space?
It's a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
Suddenly we've got something very visual to say, where would you put yourself?
Yeah.
And it's amazed me at how quickly people can answer that.
Yeah.
And then describe why. So it is an enabler of rich conversations.
Wonderful.
I think it's really affirming. I think being able to have a picture and then it's it can give words and it can give an understanding to where you are and what you're feeling and going through. But also when you have something down on paper that you know that there's like, you know, potentially hundreds of people have, you don't feel alone
Yeah.
where you are in your journey. Like, oh, actually, someone could be there too.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yep. And I think at every stage of your life, there's different places you could be, as Sandy pointed out. But even in a given day,
Yeah.
things can change. Yeah. And I think you mentioned, you know, you go to bed one night feeling on top of the world, and then wake up in the morning and things are very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that I've had conversations with heaps of people at church and even with other pastors and ministers that on Sundays, on any given Sunday after the service, that people coming up for prayer or having discussions are using this language and are using, I'm feeling in this wilderness place, or I'm feeling in this barren forest, and are able to kind of articulate it, which I think can kind of help guide our prayers and our support and pastoral care when we're supplying it. So I know that this has been a really amazing series to be able to put, you know, a visual reference. I'm a very visual learner and a very visual person. So for me, it's been super helpful to be able to just picture, and even in the Psalms, you know, Psalm 1 is one of my favourite Psalms, and Psalm 23 is so beautiful that being able to have sort of this visual reference and being able to see how, we can see it in this place of, I actually do go through these valleys. I do go into these spaces, and I want to be like this tree planted by streams of water, and we can be the blessed people. And those sort of spaces, I think, are really wonderful and a really encouraging space for us to be able to, just sort of capture something that I think so often can feel so abstract or so wild in that space.
Anna does a... Oh, sorry.
Your
I
turn.
was going to say, Anna does a really beautiful job too of like, it's all beautiful. There's beauty in all of the spaces. So, you know, like where God is, there is beauty in that.
Yeah.
And she's done a beautiful job of capturing it.
Yeah. And when we decided to do it, we didn't want a pathway that you had to follow.
Yeah.
Because it's not like that.
No.
I just wanted to say something. When you were talking about your journey to Hobart, you said you sometimes had a song list. That's our next series.
Yes.
Can I go there? Just to introduce
briefly,
it?
Just briefly, yeah.
Songs for the Journey.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps us up pretty well. Thank you all for joining us this day that we have today. If you want to have a look at this map that we've described, Anna has it, or will have it in the show notes here as well. And we also have a YouVersion Bible reading plan right now as well on the YouVersion Bible app that has this series, My Spiritual Geography. So you can search that up. If you want to go into depth into any more, we've got the whole past series going on, and it will continue forward. And if you could like the video, subscribe and follow, and share it with someone if it's been encouraging for you or inspiring. So thank you all for joining today.
Thank you.
And we would love to see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.